From the campus at Minneapolis North High School, we welcome you to another presentation of high school boys basketball. Tonight, an annual series that is filled with talent, athleticism, and high-octane excitement. The undefeated Minneapolis North Polars host the St. Paul Central Minutemen, a team looking for the first win of the 2014-15 campaign. Greetings, everyone. I'm Mike Pete, and thank you for joining us. If I can speak above this background music, very loud, but so is the statement being made by Minneapolis North, 6-0 coming into this game. In the middle of a very busy stretch of games, 6 games in 10 days. This is game number 5 in that span. They have a quick turnaround tomorrow when they go and face Lakeville North at the Breakdown Tip-Off Classic at Minnetonka High School. Right now the focus is on this team and continuing to build and grow. Minneapolis North has met all expectations thus far. Running through the conference games they have played, getting big wins over Southwest and Washburn, and teams that had beaten them a year ago are finding it much more difficult to prevail against Larry McKenzie's squad. Larry McKenzie is 6 wins away from reaching 300 in his career, and he was recently honored by the Minneapolis School Board for his induction in the Minnesota Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame, the first African-American to do so for a boys team. You know about Tyler Johnson and Jameel Jackson as the floor leaders, but Isaac Johnson has been stepping up in a big way, averaging over 17 points per game, near identical numbers with Tyler Johnson. And the last thing any opponent wants are tertiary threats for the Minneapolis North team. St. Paul Central, in the words of head coach Scott Howell, playing very uncharacteristically. Both games were losses, and right now this team is averaging 48.5 points per game, well under the usual mark for St. Paul Central clubs. Very athletic group. A lot of guys play in football and basketball, as does the head coach, Scott Howell, helms the football team and the basketball squad. They got a lot of momentum and a lot of experience after qualifying to the state tournament last year in Class 3A, even though they were summarily defeated by De La Salle in the quarterfinal round. But to get there, they defeated their arch rival Johnson, a team that has stood in their way for many years. And Scott Howell hopes that appearance will generate a culture of wanting to get back to state and maybe even winning a few. St. Paul Central has a long history in athletics, and Howell would love to add another chapter. Sam Goodbrood and Garrett Gardner are the players to watch. Goodbrood is averaging about 17.5 points per game. Goodbrood is struggling a little bit, but if Central can get into their flow, those numbers will go up. It all comes down to ball control and getting more consistency in that area. We'll find out which streak will continue and which streak will end tonight. Tip-off and starting lineups are coming up. This is high school boys basketball. Welcome back to Minneapolis North High School. Let's take a look at the starting 5 for both teams. For the visiting St. Paul Central Minutemen, it's number 3, Jack Beckman, 6'3" junior guard. Number 5, Charles Smith, 5'9" senior guard. Number 15, Abdi Musi, 6'3" junior center. Number 31, Sam Goodbrood, 6'4" junior forward. Number 33, Garrett Gardner, 6 foot senior center. Minneapolis North, they will start. Number 2, Zeke Rogers, 6'1", sophomore guard. Number 4, Jaquan Sanders, 6'1", sophomore guard. Number 10, Tyler Johnson, 6'2", junior guard. Number 12, Jameel Jackson, 6'6", junior forward. And number 32, Odell Wilson IV, 6'5", freshman center. One player who will not be suiting up tonight and will not be suiting up this season for St. Paul Central is Jamal Galado. He's a junior, but suffered 2 shoulder dislocations, suffered one in football, suffered another one in basketball, and it will require reconstructive surgery to repair. So his athletic career will be on hold, out for the season. And that's a big loss because Scott Howell starts a fairly young team. two seniors who play notable roles, but both are very experienced athletes. A lot of football crossovers on both squads. And for Scott Howell, it's a spiritual preview of what to expect in the St. Paul City Conference. I spoke with him in pregame, and he said that Minneapolis North runs a very similar style to St. Paul Johnson, often their biggest rival in the sport of basketball. We have two sets of cheerleaders tonight, the Central and North cheerleaders on opposite ends of the floor, so it should make for a very noisy fest. A decent crowd for this one. This is not one of the marquee series. Again, both schools in different classes, but as we noted in our last North broadcast, the Polars want to class back up to 3A next year. We'll see how that goes. As you know, Minnesota State High School League does reseeding in odd-numbered years, so next year we'll start the new cycle with section and class realignments. Tyler Johnson getting a good luck greeting from his girlfriend who's on the cheerleading squad. Central wearing the white jerseys, North wearing the blue. And we're underway. North 6-0, Central 0-2. And an alley-oops to start this one. Again, not a sellout, but they expect the crowds to get bigger as you get into conference play, and they are already promoting the Maranatha Christian Academy game heavily, figuring that's going to be a 10-second violation on St. Paul Central. Jack Beckman couldn't get it across the timeline. But they anticipate the Maranatha game to be the biggest of the regular season. And why is that? Maranatha was the team that eliminated North in last year's section final. It's something they still think about. Odell Wilson fakes the outlet pass, posts up, but comes up short there, and the rebound going to Goodbrood. Here is Charles Smith, one of the leaders on this team. Beckman pump fakes and straddles across the right wing. Used up his dribble. Goodbrood drains the floater, and our first basket of the game. Jackson bounces to Isaac Johnson. It didn't take long for him to go in. What a nice backdoor cut. And Odell Wilson gets on the board. Well, it appears that either Isaac Johnson was subbed in right away or Jaquan Sanders didn't start as originally thought. Abdi Mousse with the layup. No matter though, Sanders will get his share of playing time. Johnson thought about a three, didn't have the space, so North will run another half-court set. Tyler Johnson, Odell Wilson. That's too strong. Good defense by Goodbrood. North bringing that full court pressure. You saw that in the North Lawndale game. And there's a foul on Wilson before the shot. A lot of continuity with the St. Paul Central squad, including the head coach, Scott Howell, was a graduate of Central many years ago. Corner three, bullseye, Jack Beckman. And Central with an early 7-2 lead. Don't let that 0-2 record fool you. This is a school that reached the 3A state tournament round last year and often a competitive force within the St. Paul City Conference. Tyler Johnson drawing the foul on Charles Smith. He will go to the line. On the season, Tyler Johnson averaging 17.8 points per game, 58% free throw shooter, and a 46% field goal shooter. Pretty solid numbers across the board. 43% from three-point range. Johnson 2 of 2, and it's 7-4 in favor of the Minutemen. Those are Johnson's first 2 points. Out of bounds, last touched by Central. North forcing the turnover. There's Jameel Jackson, the tallest player on the team. And a favorite target of Tyler Johnson from their football days this fall. As you know, North reached the semifinal round, losing to Dawson Boyd. Isaac Johnson with a 16-footer. And Isaac Johnson has been, not to say the surprise player, but the third member of the North Polar Pack. Tyler Johnson forcing the steal, behind the back pass, but an offensive foul. Jameel Jackson collided with the set player, and that player was Gubrud. Smart defense by Central to prevent a transition bucket. Gubrud is the steady anchor for the Minutemen, in the words of Scott Howell. Beckman left alone. Pure. Two trays for Jack Beckman. Isaac Johnson bouncing. Wilson fading away. Good coverage in the post. Prevented him from penetrating. Tyler Johnson almost stole the pass. And instead goes out of bounds. But as you've seen, North plays a very aggressive style. They take chances. They go for steals, deflections. They do not lay back. Their offense averaging about 84 points per game. 5-second violation, and North has been North being effective in that area. 84.6 to be precise, and North defense giving up just 60 points per game. And now that's going to be something I do a little more research on for our next North game, which is scheduled to be Holy Family Catholic, because North's defense doing a lot better than a year ago. The offense is about the same, if not better. Jackson, 3 is long. But right now it's St. Paul Central with the early 10-6 lead. Tyler Johnson finds a collapsing zone. No problem. He finds the kick-out pass to Odell Wilson, who runs it in. Odell Wilson the fourth with 4 points, and Central having some trouble again with this press. They do break it though. Beckman takes a tumble and loses the ball. North playing some stingy defense. Rogers to Wilson. Fake the shot, but Johnson is stripped on the way up. New player in for the Minutemen, number 23. That, I believe, is Jacoby Jackson, and he's in trouble. Central having a tough time here, but Muse is open and gets the reverse to fall. 12-8 our score. Number 23 is Jacoby Jackson, one of the top football players on Central's roster. Inbound here for the Polars. And now Central applying some full court press. Garrett Gardner coming up with it. Muse to Gardner, to the rack. Off the mark. And North responds with a turnover of their own. It's Zeke Rogers coming up with it. And Odell Wilson has been the trailing player on a lot of these possessions and the beneficiary of several inside baskets. He's up to 6. Beckman, left corner this time, he's hit. No foul called. Isaac Johnson with the rebound. Isaac Johnson, he was harassed. Tyler Johnson sees a hole, and he draws a blocking foul. I don't know who it was on. Muse and Gardner both converged to his position, but neither could get set in time. Tyler Johnson, 2 of 2 from the line. They give it to Gubrud. So that is his first personal. Tyler Johnson, no field goals yet. Free throws have been a work in progress for this North team. It was not a strong suit of theirs last year. DJ Hunter taking the floor for the Polars. He wears number 1. Johnson, 2 of 4. Central looking for the 3 again. And it comes up empty. That was Gubrud that time. Hunter brings it up. Deflected by Gardner, but it will stay with the Polars. Jackson to inbound. Jaquan Sanders also on the floor for the Polars. Isaac Johnson, elbow. No bounce. Muse with the board. Charles Smith. Weaving, but coming up long on the three-pointer. Sanders with the rebound. Alley-oop and the finish. Tyler Johnson with his first field goal. They'll get that down eventually. "17-footer off the mark, and Jameel Jackson is fouled. Tied at 12 with 11:54 left in the first half. Sanders. Sees Hunter with one-on-one coverage. Offered the screen, but instead a pass out, and Tyler Johnson gets the runner. WCCO here tonight to get some highlights for their coverage. The North team is one of the headliners of the season, as we mentioned, the #1 team in Class A. St. Paul Central unranked, but we have a long way to go during the season. Gubrud on the drive and the finish. We're tied at 14. Sanders kicks out. Hunter for 3. That's off the mark. Gubrud had the rebound there. The officials letting these guys play it out. Count it. Gubrud saw a lane and drove through it. Gubrud averaging 17 points per game in the first 2 games of the year. Central playing a somewhat erratic schedule in the first month of the year. They're going to play a lot more games as the season progresses. They're going to have a tight window. In fact, they're going to play 5 games in 8 days in the middle of January. Gudbrand completes a 3-point play. Sanders left alone, and the back door is open. But to finish up on Central scheduling, they have a game with Wayzata next week, and then they are off for nearly 2 weeks before resuming against Pine City. Although that might give Sanders got the rebound but stepped on the line. That might give Scott Howell some time for his players to recuperate. He gave his football players a couple of weeks off just because there isn't much of a layoff between football and basketball. And in the case of North, there was almost no downtime. Nice inbound feed. Jacoby Jackson aware of the situation. And it's 19-16 in favor of the Minutemen. Hunter, baseline, swish. Hunter with his first field goal. Beckman to Jackson. Used up the dribble. North fans thought about it, wanted to travel, but he was fine. Muse, the long deuce, comes up empty. Tyler Johnson, one-on-one. Muse can't get there. He'll be hit with a foul, and Johnson will shoot a pair. Muse got there a little too late. As we noted in the last broadcast, Tyler Johnson getting a lot of offers from Division I schools, but he still has time to make a decision, and depending on his performance this year, those offers could increase. Substitution, the free throw counted. Edo Walker will make his first appearance. Edo Walker the fourth, wearing number 11. Gudbrand hit with a charge. Zeke Rogers sacrificing his body for that one. That's Gudbrand's second. Remember, 5 fouls, and you're disqualified in high school ball. Rogers tried the touch pass. Wilson somehow picks it up and punches it in. Wilson, a 6'5" frame. He can use that to his advantage. Central having a little bit of trouble here is Muse. Wilson pushes him off. And North will be hit with a reach, and I believe that will go against Hunter. Yes, it is. 22-19 our score, 8:14 left in the first half. St. Paul Central trailing the North Polars. Beckman off the mark, drew some contact but no call. Rogers nearly traveled and ends up throwing it away. Changed his mind at the last minute on the drive to the basket, opted to pass instead. That may have cost him. New player in for Central. Muse, baseline, no. Charles Smith with a second chance and the floater. And a steal, Gubru bouncing over to Sean Blankard Jr. He's blocked from behind. And Walker in a battle for the ball, he wins it. Looking for Johnson, last touch by Charles Smith. Sean Blankard Jr. wearing number 35 for the Minutemen. Well, this is interesting. Zeke Rogers backpedaled. Of course, you can do that at an inbound pass. Most players don't go all the way to the backcourt, though. Perhaps an effort to draw out the defense. Central didn't bite. But they're finding no way to stop Wilson either. He keeps punching through. Central gives him lanes, and he merges with them. Wilson with 10 points. Not accustomed to seeing this out of Odell Wilson, the fourth. Tyler Johnson, clean block, clean strip. He can push. And that's what he's going to do. Here he comes. Finds Rogers on the backside. No! And North with a missed fast break chance. And a player is down. It appears to be Rogers. He gets up. May have taken an inadvertent hit. He'll have to be subbed out for now. Injury concern is a little more heightened around here following the ACL tear to Rachel Bannum, the senior for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. A tear that will end her season and potentially her college career. There's some mystery regarding her eligibility for a medical red shirt. Back to action here. And Scott Howell, sensing his Central team was in trouble, so he opts to use one of his timeouts. Central has 4 left, and it's a 24-21 score in favor of the North Polars. We talked about Odell Wilson the fourth. 10 points per game, or 10 points tonight, averaging 8.5. 54% shooter, so he's pretty accurate when he gets to the rim, and started, or I should say competed on this team as an 8th grader, got a lot of experience there. This North team is still young, but they're experienced. Just one senior on the roster, and that's Randy Matthews, and he gets some playing time. Outside of that, 4 juniors, 5 sophomores, and a freshman. Charles Smith goes out. Beckman didn't like what he saw there. They'll go back inside, trying to draw the defense out. But North still getting in the passing lanes and forcing those deflections. Goodbrood to Gardner. Central, one of their longer possessions of the game thus far. New player in, that's number 4, Joshua Cobb. And Central still looking for an opening. And the longer these possessions go, it will stay with Central, but the longer it goes without a move to the basket, the more befuddled the team with the ball can become. Gardner will go out, as will Etta Walker for the North Polars. Gardner, of course, playing for Central. Mousse, spin move, but he traveled. Would have beaten Jackson for the layup, but to no avail. Here comes John Gubru, the younger brother, I presume, of Sam Gubru. Actually, they're both juniors, so I spoke prematurely. I presume they are related in some way. North, that was a dangerous inbound pass, and Central ran out of real estate, or that would have led to a turnover. St. Paul Central out of fouls to give after the last one on Charles Smith. That's his second. But this game a lot cleaner, much more of a flow than the North Lawndale game, but as you've seen, both schools are cordial with one another. The North Lawndale game, there was some animosity, and that heightened the emotions a bit. John Gubrud intercepts the entry pass. Sam draws the foul on the spin move. Sam has completed the only free throw that Central has attempted, and that came on a three-point play. Gubrud with 7 points. Missing the front end. Gubrud completes the back end. So he splits there, 2 of 3 for the night, and it's a 2-point margin. North still hanging on to the lead as they have for the last few minutes. Johnson, top of the key. That's off to the right, and John Gubrud comes up with it. Not a backcourt violation. Charles Smith did not cross the timeline before he lost control, so he was able to retrieve it. Beckman, Jackson hounding him, and Beckman couldn't finish. Johnson has Wilson on the backside, but opts to take it himself. Wilson was positioning himself for another backdoor play, but Tyler Johnson used his agility to his advantage, and he does so with a steal. Johnson up to 10 points, but North gives it right back. North playing one of the toughest schedules of any team this season, and that was one of the conditions to get Larry McKenzie back into a Minneapolis school. When he took the job, he said he would not have accepted had North not tested themselves against some of the state's best, and Lakeville North, I'd say, is one of them, who they'll face tomorrow. But that's how you prepare for the postseason run. Garrett Gardner gets on the board. And it's a 2-point game again. A lower scoring game than usual. Central now in a zone. Isaac Johnson will break it with a triple. There are ways to beat the zone. The perimeter shot or getting into the short corner. Isaac Johnson forcing the steal. Tyler Johnson, here he comes. Rim time. And North with their largest lead of the game, 31-24 with 3 minutes to play. Contact away from the ball. Wasn't picked up by the officials. Isaac Johnson, you saw he went for it again, but Central not able to attack and catch him out of position. Cobb. Pull up, no. Now Goodbrood. That's short. Charles Smith can't get it off the glass. And a foul on North. That can't be right. No, it is. The foul is on DJ Hunter. He picks up his third. Both teams out of fouls to give now, so I thought it was going to go the other way, but North picks it up anyway. 4 chances and Central couldn't finish. Johnson is blocked, and John Goodbrook comes up with it, but a lazy pass and an easy deuce for Isaac Johnson. North has scored the last 7 points, and Central, their composure destabilizing. We mentioned in the open consistency, and we'll have some time to talk about it. That was an interesting move, as Eric Rogers brought it up to the out-of-bounds line and then called timeout. 2:03 left. Central was looking for more of it, and they've been having trouble finishing at the rim, getting shots to fall, and their discipline coming undone a little bit as well. North getting their usual production out of Tyler Johnson. Of course, you expect that, considering his numbers. Odell Wilson providing a nice boost. But one thing they pride on is balance. 3 players are in double figures, and Randy Matthews is close behind with 9.2 points per game in the contest he has participated in. Hasn't been available as of late. But North, perhaps the deepest team in Class A. Johnson lost it. But last touch by Central, North will hang on to it. Odell Wilson says we can pull off that inbound play too. He and Tyler Johnson have a dozen. And North, they've scored 9 in a row. They could add another. Tyler Johnson makes it 11 in a row with an accentuation. A 11-0 run for the Polars. Their lead is 13. Jackson is hit and draws a foul. Central in the bonus. 1-1 will come up for Jacoby Jackson. Jackson has scored just 3 points this season. We've noted this. Central's offense has sputtered in the early going. 48.5 points per game through the first 2 games. Something they would like to clean up. And an empty possession won't get that done. Here we go. Alley-oop ×2. Tyler Johnson with 16 points. North has scored the last 13 now with just under a minute left. Cobb, can he end this run? No. Muse has it, and he had an opening, didn't recognize it. But he rises up and gets the roll. Delay of game warning. 13 points in a row before Central responded. And in the North Lawndale game, it wasn't as big of a run, but North got on one, and that was just enough to get the win over one of the top Chicago teams. Now Walker is short on the tray. Wilson with the rebound. Isaac Johnson, top of the key. That's also off. And Jackson with the rebound. Central has time. Plenty of it. They don't need to hurry. 12 seconds. But they do throw it up. And a second chance will get Garrett Gardner to the free throw line. Gardner averaging 11.5 points per game through 2 games. Just 1 field goal tonight. The foul was on the shot, so it's 2 shots here. And then North would have 6 seconds to try to get 1 more basket. But this game was very tight up until that run that North posted. And really it has to do with the attentiveness of their defense. It's aggressive, they gamble, but they do so because they pay attention. Wilson will go out. The foul is on Isaac Johnson, his second. Fouling nowhere near the level we had in the North Lawndale game. Gardner's 2 of 2. North will have 6 seconds to set up a shot. Sanders goes to Walker, and that was premature, and that will be the end of the first half. Walker had a couple extra seconds. He could have taken another dribble or 2, but North using a 13-0 run, and they end the first half with a 39-28 lead. So we'll go over the first half stats and numbers for you, but Minneapolis North exerting their defensive might throughout most of the first half. Stay with us. This is high school boys basketball on TSB Television. Welcome back to high school boys basketball coverage on TSB Television. We had a bit of a expedited intermission period, at least from our vantage point, so not as much of a break as normally as we are accustomed to, but that can sometimes happen with the scoreboard operator. But I can tell you that Tyler Johnson has 16 points and Odell Wilson has 12 points. Those are your notables for Minneapolis North. Sam Goodbrute has 8 points to lead the St. Paul Central Minutemen, but North using a 13-0 run in the first half, and they have a 39-28 lead here. And we've noted this, the officials are letting a lot of contact go uncalled, letting them play through it. So there may be a few bruises as Sam Goodbrute gets the short-range shot. But this will be a lesson on playing through contact, and officials vary from crew to crew. It's often an adjustment players have to make. St. Paul Central at 0-2, North at 6-0. And an offensive foul away from the ball. Tyler Johnson was tackled. I didn't see who made contact, but we should find out here with the foul call. It's on Garrett Gardner, his second personal. Wilson was looking for a high-low setup to Jameel Jackson, and he's bumped, and 2 fouls on Central in 1 minute and 2 seconds of play in the second half. North will head to Minnetonka tomorrow, as we mentioned, to face Lakeville North. And we noted they play a tough schedule. They get Maranatha later in the year. They get Rushford Peterson on their non-conference slate. Tyler Johnson, he came in too hard and was out of position. But now he's back in position for 3 from the corner, and that rims out. Tough break for Tyler Johnson. But keep an eye on him. 16 points, and I imagine he'll get a few more before the half is out. Beckman started the game with 2 quick trays and faked out his defender, delayed his jump to the basket, and Jameel Jackson, that was a long 3, almost goes off the support beam. Jump ball, possession arrow favors the Polars. So Beckman, he had 2 quick trays, then was unheard of for the rest of the first half. Good ball movement, and Jameel Jackson punctuates with the triple. That's his first basket. It's a bit of a surprise that he hasn't scored, but remember, Odell Wilson has done a lot of offense down low. And Zeke Rogers with the steal. Jackson draws contact. Central stopping the fast break, and it appears it will be a side out. Non-shooting foul, but Central racking up a lot of fouls. In fact, they are already out of fouls to give. 15:49. North will be in the bonus for the remainder of the game. So that's something Scott Howell will have to deal with. And he mentioned they got to clean up the little things, and that's what has been off with this team in the first 2 games of the season. And with the football crossovers getting some time off, it took a little while. They need to get readjusted to the level of energy they need to invest in these games. Now, St. Paul Central, they've always played a respectable schedule. Some of their notables, they'll get Minnehaha Academy, one of the top teams in 2A after having a bit of a down year last year. Minneapolis South, they're usually a good foe, and Roseville are some of their non-conference notables. Jackson on the fadeaway, but he can't hit it from about 10 feet. And it's important to know that even though Central, they had 3 fouls, it was incorrectly listed as 6. I thought that was a little inflated. So St. Paul Central still has 3 fouls to give, but they've had some difficulty on defense against a team that pushes the tempo and pushes it hard. Muse was open, but not for long. Jackson sends him away, but he almost lost it. Isaac Johnson, smart, waited for Muse, knowing he was in the air, and all he had to do was wait for the hit. Isaac Johnson, 7 points. Comes up short on the first attempt. Entering tonight, 17.5 points per game, 55% field goal shooter, and the team's best free throw shooter at 77%. Splits there. North is 5 of 8, Central 4 of 6, so the free throw category about even. Beckman, he's showing a little driving ability. He's not just a spot-up shooter, folks. And he's up to 10. Central's first double-digit score. Wilson in traffic, and the floater caromed off the rim. And Charles Smith just lost control of the ball. Zeke Rogers wanted the charge, but by that point, Smith had lost control of the ball, so he couldn't lead with it. We mentioned the Central continuity. The coach of the cheerleading squad, a Central alumni and the mother of a graduate of the school, Asia Smith, graduated last year. Went to a couple of state tournaments for the St. Paul Central girls team, but they've hit some harder times lately. Johnson spots up, bullseye. Isaac Johnson up to 11 points. But a foul on Jaquan Sanders. And Sam Goodbrud on the baseline drive is hacked. Goodbrud and Beckman have 10 points to lead the Minutemen. Goodbrud comes up empty. And North looking to push. Jaquan Sanders finishes the transition bucket. Smith finds his team trailing by 14. Remember, this was back and forth. And North forcing the turnover. Tyler Johnson with the elevation. Not enough for a dunk, but that's still good for two. Beckman fakes a three and is drilled. But this game has almost come down to discipline. Central making a few of those mental mistakes, the unforced turnovers. They started the game with a 10-second backcourt violation and throwing up passes that are just too easy for North to scoop up. Having some difficulty responding to the North full court pressure defense. But again, this is similar to what they will see against Johnson. Muse, short on the drive. Edo Walker was there to reflect that attempt. Alley-oop again, number 3, and this time Jameel Jackson provides the fireworks. He's up to 5, North up by 18, and it appears they have assumed full control. Sanders draws with the steal, and then he's taken from behind by Muse. Going back to the first half, North has outscored Central 26-10. A 26-10 run, and that includes the 13 unanswered points. Offensive foul on Walker. North having 4 more games than Central on the season slate might have some influence. And here's more of the press. Not as heavy this time. But there it is again, Edo Walker. North always seeking to get the deflection. It's a philosophy that was instilled by Cheryl Reeve as well for the Minnesota Lynx. She preaches pass deflections. And her team thrives on an up-tempo style, which can make it more difficult against the slower-paced teams like Seattle. Sam Goodbrud is fouled on the way up, so he will shoot 2. The foul is on Wilson, his second. Both teams with 1 to give. But Central has struggled as of late in converting free throws. They have missed 3 in a row now. But Goodbrud gets the back end. He's up to 11. 52-35. North over Central. Walker rises up and earns a trip to the free throw line as a result. Central out of fouls to give. So now North will be in the bonus for the remainder of the game. The foul's on Garrett Gardner, his 4th, and Gardner has been contained for the most part. Just 4 points and now 4 fouls. Edo Walker to shoot 2. That one rims out. Edo Walker hasn't seen much action so far this season. Just 2 points all year. Sean Blankard Jr. will take the place of Garrett Gardner. Edo Walker makes the back end and he's on the board. Token full court press this time. Walker was the only one up court. But Central hasn't done much on the offensive end to make North squirm, and that won't get it done. Another unforced turnover. Beckman was going right. The pass was going to his prior position. Central complicating their own efforts with the mental mistakes. Jackson, pass deflected. It will stay with the Polars. And look out. Our front row spectators getting a piece of the action. Like we said, a decent crowd. Those crowds may get bigger as we get to conference play. Jackson's 3 was an air ball, but Sam Goodbrud could not corral the rebound. It will stay with the Polars. Walker had trouble in the inbound. And we have a foul on DJ Hunter. Walker in panic mode, and it results in a foul, but North still holding on to an 18-point lead. The foul is DJ Hunter's 4th. We'll have a timeout taken by Central with 11:25 left. Both teams now in the bonus for the rest of the game. One thing with the St. Paul Central team, and we noted this too with North Lawndale, and a lot of these students take academics very seriously. The St. Paul Central team averaging a 3.3 team GPA, and a couple of those players are 4.0s. And Scott Howell, just as Larry McKenzie, I imagine, would say if once his players start graduating, they pride themselves on setting up their players to move on to the next level in college, whether it's to an athletic scholarship or an academic one. Athletics, a huge part of the lifestyle for St. Paul Central, with football and basketball, and of course a few years ago the Jimmy Lee Oxford Rec Center opened up, giving those students a chance, a facility here. How about Sanders coming up with the steal and the coast-to-coast finish. North up by 20. Jacoby Jackson drives and comes up empty. Central getting a little desperate here, but they get the foul, so that will send Alex Beckman to the line. It's going to be fun when Tyler Johnson and Jameel Jackson are seniors. It's going to be fun awaiting the announcement on where they will head. As long as they remember their priorities, and there are no indications of such. Beckman comes up empty. That was a 1-and-1, so another lost possession for the Minutemen. It's going to be exciting to find out where they will move in the next level. Isaac Johnson, there's your classic traveling violation. Happens to everybody. You get the ball, you see an opening, you're in a hurry to fake it, and in the end, you fake out yourself. Rogers had to be careful not to ride the back of Jackson because North is in the penalty. Beckman, another missed bunny. It will stay with North. Central would probably still be in contention if they could convert these layups and these shots in the paint. Instead, it has impeded their ability to contend with the #1 team in Class A. Wilson, spin move, got it. And just in time, because Jameel Jackson, a split second later, that may have been a goaltend. Beckman has an open Blankard. And Central cutting to the basket, but they will need to do a lot. They're down by 20. Isaac Johnson. In the lane. No good. Beckman. Fans want him to push. Beckman does. And he rolls it in. Jack Beckman now with 12. North still leading by a lot here, by 18, and seeing them evaporate that margin is difficult to conceive with 9:08 left, but they cannot get too careless here. Foul on Beckman, blocking foul before the shot, so 1-1 coming up for Isaac Johnson. Isaac Johnson with a quiet 11 points. Becoming the third threat on North's team, the third consistent threat. And that doesn't always mean they're going to put up similar numbers, and that is not a requirement for these North teams helmed by Larry McKenzie. As Jameel Jackson, he hasn't done much, just 5 points. His average has dropped as of late, but that's all right. It's not so much the stats it's the reputation. If people respect you, sometimes it's all you need. You draw their respect, you create an opening for someone else. Isaac Johnson converting both free throws, and North getting a slight edge in that margin, 8-12 versus 5 of 11 for the Minutemen. Backcourt violation. It was touched by a Central player before Sanders could run in another fast break layup. But North gets the ball. What a shift from 26-24 midway through the first half. Central has the numbers for a transition look. Charles Smith, with Jackson in his face, couldn't put down the fadeaway. Sam Gubrud is short. Jameel Jackson, elevation. Oh, a little too fancy, but Jaquan Sanders, no, he couldn't put it in. Tried the windmill and caught nothing but air. Jameel Jackson, style points don't mean much if they don't convert into actual points. One of the few miscues, though, for Minneapolis North tonight. Charles Smith. North has done a great job blocking his attempts to attack, and Beckman getting the roll. That was a weak shot attempt in terms of velocity, but he got just enough to guide it in. Wilson off the backboard, no good. DJ Hunter is short. Sanders has it, and he can't get it either. North having some trouble here in traffic. Rogers, it's almost blocked, but Gubrud made contact, and Rogers to the charity stripe. Tough break for Central, who had repelled so many second chance looks for the Polars. Instead, they bailed them out with a foul. Foul is Gubrud's third, but it's looking more and more like a North win is imminent. Rogers missing both free throws. And so he remains scoreless for tonight. And Isaac Johnson rode a little too closely to Jacoby Jackson, but Central has struggled at the free throw line, making just 5 of 11 attempts so far. One-and-one situation for Jacoby Jackson, who has just one field goal. Comes up empty, but Mousse cleans up the mess. "15-footer, pure." DJ Hunter up to 4 points. And North retains their 18-point lead. North was looking for another pass or another steal. Mousse pump fakes, and the layup was too strong. It will stay with Central as the ball almost went out of the gym. But Central, if they want to claw their way back, they need a run, and they need it soon. 6:51 left. Who will be the person that assumes that responsibility? Sam Gubrud, that would have been a big three, but he follows his own shot, loses it, underneath, goes up and scores. And Larry McKenzie calling timeout. His North team is up by 16. A comfortable margin with 6:25 left, but he understands. He's been through this many times, 294 career wins. He understands that it's a 36-minute game, not a 30-minute game. Of course, in the old days, it was a 32-minute game, but I digress. Gubrud, who made the last basket, we mentioned, a steady member of this team. But the free throws leave more to be desired, and this has been a recurring problem in the early part of the season. In the 57-54 loss to Hill Murray, Central made just 6 of 20 attempts. And if you don't believe they make a difference, there's an example. Another one came Wednesday night when DePaul lost to Notre Dame in overtime in women's basketball. DePaul missing 6 free throws in a row in the overtime period. That allowed Notre Dame to escape without the upset loss. Now it's Central stealing the bounce pass. Jacoby Jackson goes up against Jameel Jackson and draws the foul. That was the right idea. Jacoby Jackson gives up about 10 inches in height to Jameel Jackson. So going up directly would not be successful, or not as likely. So Jacoby Jackson intelligently ensured he would be contacted, but the front end is no good. Still, that was the best solution in that situation. Jameel Jackson with his 4th personal foul. He goes out. Just 5 points so far. Odell Wilson, the 4th, goes back in. Wilson had a strong start to this game. And Jackson comes up empty. Oh my goodness. St. Paul Central leaving a lot of points at the line again. They've been crashing the boards though, and they'll get a pair and a technical foul. And remember, technical fouls count as personals if it's called against a player. Isaac Johnson hit with the technical. So Sam Gubrud will shoot the technical free throws. Muse will shoot the regular free throws. Chance for Central to whittle down the margin a bit. Gubrud hits all 4. There may have been another technical assessed, or even though Muse drew the foul because the technical foul was called, that overruled the common foul, and so Gubrud got to shoot all 4. And he made all 4, so his total's up to 17, and that's going to aid Central's numbers a bit. So it's a 12-point margin, and Central has the ball here. They can make this a single-digit game with a 3. Gardner almost lost control, but he finds Gubrud on the backside. It's a 10-point game now. Sam Gubrud scoring 6 points on that possession. But then they commit a foul on the defensive end. But this game becoming a little more tactical as Minneapolis North sees an increased tension. 1-on-1 scenario for Tyler Johnson. And Tyler Johnson converts both free throws. North still holds a slight edge, 10 of 16, Central 9 of 18. A tough break for Central, who had scored 6 points. All from Sam Gudbrud. And Beckman missing the three. But Muse with the offensive rebound, he's in trouble. And now Gudbrud bouncing to Muse for the layup. Beckman was calling for it. Muse went out, but it pays off for Central anyway. This game not a done deal for the Polars yet. Sanders fakes the three. Now Johnson faking one. No charade this time, and it rims out. I thought that was going to go in. But Central can't lay back here. They're leaving Charles Smith alone. Bad idea against the full court press. Counted and the foul. Tyler Johnson, Mr. Clutch again. If there's one area where Central has been exploited heavily, it's the backcourt. Tyler Johnson made his last 2 free throws. That should be enough to ice this one, you would presume. He completes a 3-point play. Central within striking distance of making this a competitive nail-biter, but mistakes of their own doing have unraveled such hopes. The double team, and Gudbrud throws it away. Wilson fakes the pass to Sanders and rails it in himself. Drawing an elation from the North faithful. Garrett Gardner draws a foul, but that is inconsequential with 3:52 left. Garrett Gardner held in check tonight by the Polar defense. The foul is on Odell Wilson, his 5th. Wilson is out of the game. But his efforts are worthy of applause. And the officials straighten it out, as you have to sub a player out before the second free throw in this situation. And of course you get 30 seconds, so Larry McKenzie will use that time. Odell Wilson fouls out with 16 points, but you have to applaud his effort. He did a great job early in the game, down low, providing an interior presence. And this is a guy who's getting better. Over the summer, he scrimmaged against a friend of mine, Brianna Edwards, who is a Minneapolis North graduate. And she had rave reviews for the freshman center. And Wilson is still burgeoning. And if he continues his development, he will get the offers that have embraced Johnson and Jameel Jackson. Gardner makes both free throws. He's up to 6. Jameel Jackson, elevation and the slam. This time, nothing coy. But he makes up for that missed dunk earlier. Smith finds Garrett Gardner, and he posts up against Jameel Jackson for the score. Might be too little too late, though, for the Minutemen. But they throw it away. Gubrud, runner, short. Left a little too much. Encore for Jameel Jackson. That's what you call a methodical or procedural fast break. He was all alone, had plenty of space. A leisurely transition dunk for Jameel Jackson, and that boosts his total to 9. He was quiet. Well, that'll help his average a little bit, but more importantly, North is going to stay undefeated, and that should give them some momentum. Again, a quick turnaround, so they're going to have to get some some sleep, and Tyler Johnson fouling Jacoby Jackson, so 2 free throws coming. They're going to need to get a good sleep tonight as they play a game in about 15 hours. But as we've noted before, this is what happens at the state tournament. And boy, do they want to get there after what happened to Maranatha. I spoke with Larry McKenzie ahead of time, and he had said and I paraphrase, he irritates himself once a week. There was a documentary produced on the team called Within Inches, describing how close North came. It was a game-tying field goal, so we don't know how overtime would have played out, but you get the idea. They were close to reaching a state tournament in the first year of Larry McKenzie's tenure. Jackson splitting on the free throws. They're forcing another steal. Central with the little full court, and Jackson drawing contact on Sanders. Much to the dismay of our camera operator, wondering when will this end? I did say in the first half, if you cover a North game, you can expect a marathon. And it appears we're getting that in the second half of this one. But that documentary, Within Inches, it reminds them of how close they came, because they want to make a statement in March. Jacoby Jackson gets the front end. Not surprisingly, this is a new season high. As I said, he had 3 points in 2 games, and 3 of them came in 1 game. So Jacoby Jackson will pad that number, but it's stuck at 4. Gets his own miss, though, and he misses the putback. St. Paul Central still has some cleaning up to do. But McKenzie watches that, and the rest of the team, they've watched it several times. They've held on to that second place trophy in their section. Central not as keen on giving up the flashy fast break scores. As they don't want to irritate themselves any longer. They want to finish the job. The path is long, no different than last year. But they want to come out and do so flying. Now this is getting a little chippy. Foul is on Central, so we're going to have 2 free throws going the other way because North is in the double bonus. St. Paul Central, right around the end of winter break, will take a weekend trip to the Pentagon in Sanford, South Dakota. Zeke Rogers is now on the scoreboard for tonight. They'll face Sioux Falls Lincoln and Sioux Falls Washington. Central has been a participant of that event for some time. Rogers splits, but at this point, it's academic. And we mentioned North's schedule. The first two games would indicate that their conference slate shouldn't be tricky. They're non-conference games. We mentioned Holy Family and Maranatha. We'll have those games for you. They go on the road to face Rushford Peterson, one of the Class A participants from last year at the state tournament. Tyler Johnson on the layup. Brings his total to 25. They also get a non-conference test on the road at Armstrong. Beckman out of control. And I've noted this in many broadcasts. One little mishap can screw up an entire play. Tyler Johnson will shoot two more. And he's angry. He wanted to throw it down. But of what I've noticed through two games with Tyler Johnson as he collects himself here, he's put up impressive point totals, but he does so in what appears to be a routine fashion. Yes, he gets his highlight reel plays. He gets the electric moves, the dunks. The Showtime swag. But he possesses enough fundamental skills where he can put up, as he has tonight, 27 points. And you may not know he has. You wouldn't give off that indication. Of course, he had that big performance against Lawndale to get the win there. A little behind the back pass, and there's the Showtime shimmy. Isaac Johnson with the dish, Jaquan Sanders with the score. That brings them up to 8. And North is going to be roughly around their averages. We mentioned they give up about 60 points per game. Beckman launches a three, bullseye. Okay, they give up more than 60 points now. They're going to give up more than that, but that's all right. North's defense did more than enough. They will go to 7-0. Timeout, but again, that's incidental. A few more seconds to elaborate on what this North team has done. Last year, North was hovering around the 500 mark, and they didn't get past it until a 9-game winning streak at the end of the season, which was enough to get them in the Twin Cities game and a share of the Minneapolis City Conference title. This year, much different story. Even against this team, Minneapolis North started the season on the road at Central and lost by 1, shot about 50% from the free throw line, and that cost them. Tonight, they're shooting 66%, 14 of 21, Central 11 of 22, difference of 16%. And a team that had defeated them a year ago is a team they will record a convincing win against. And that is a big difference. Against the teams North faced a year ago, Washburn, they split in that series. Southwest, they had to fight and scrap for 2 wins. One of them came on a buzzer beater. Different story this year. I imagine they're going to draw a lot of interested eyeballs when they face Lakeville North. Charles Smith on the runner. But North did more than enough. Central's miscues didn't help either, but that doesn't matter. North will go to 7-0. One more basket, for number 30. We don't have his name, but we will soon. That's the final buzzer. We'll find out who 30 is, I guess, in our next North game. But more importantly, Minneapolis North with an 81-64 win over St. Paul Central. They go to 7-0. St. Paul Central falls to 0-3. Tyler Johnson, your high score for the Minutemen, or I should say the Polars, with 27 points. Sam Gubrud and Jack Beckman, your high scores for the Minutemen, with 17 each. We'll try to get a word with Johnson and Wilson from Minneapolis North. Polars win 81-64. This is high school basketball on TSB television. I'm here with Tyler Johnson. Next to me and standing to his left is Odell Wilson Jr. And Tyler, we'll start with you. Our second game of this season, you seem to have this ability to rack up a lot of points and do so in a seemingly leisurely fashion. You had 27 points tonight, but it was Wilson giving you the quick start. You provided the finish. What is this strategy of yours here?
That's a good question. I really don't know. I like to play fast paced, and whenever I got an opportunity, I like to put it in hard, slam it in.
And you had that going tonight, but you were really on top of the full court pressure defense. The team was getting in passing lanes, deflections, steals, and really disrupting Central's flow.
Yeah, we want to be known as a defensive team. We got a lot of talent out here, and we know that we can do it on the offensive end, but we want to know that we want teams to know that we just play defense too.
And how has that improved? You're 7-0 and you're allowing about 61 points per game, and last year that defense wasn't as stingy. How has that stepped up?
It stepped up big time, and it all started in the summer. Actually, it all started after we lost to Maranatha. We got right back in the gym, and we actually started off the whole week of tryouts. We start off without a ball and just defense. So that's one of our strongest links on the team.
This Maranatha game could become a holiday the way this is going. That seems to be a benchmark for you guys.
Yeah, we're very excited to play them. We want to play them so much.
I meant last year's game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That seems to be the turning point for this team.
Right, it has to be.
Well, your coach said he gets himself irritated once a week, and I paraphrased because the word he used was not suitable for television. But that being said, you're getting more wins. You've got a quick turnaround with Lakeville North tomorrow, so how do you rest up and continue to showcase yourself against the defending 4A champion?
We just got to go home, get some rest, wake up, eat a good breakfast, and just come ready to play.
What's on the breakfast menu?
Right now, I don't even know right now.
To be determined. And I also noticed you, is there a good luck charm there? You go over to the cheerleader, got a quick good luck wish, and you hear it scored 27. Is that going to be a trend now for every game?
It might, but today I didn't just go over there to just see a cheerleader. I went over there to throw away my gum. But I just might chew on the gum every game.
Hand it off to the cheerleader, and there you go. So that gum seems to be magical. Odell Wilson, you had a magical first half. You got things going early. You were really great at driving in the lanes today, so how confident were you against the Central interior?
I mean, I just did what I do. I mean, I practiced it a lot in practice, and I mean, I just gave it a shot today, and I did it a couple weeks ago in Milwaukee. So, I mean, I felt real confident after I did it a couple times.
And your coaching staff has talked about your progression, your maturity from last year to this year. What have you noticed from an 8th grader to a 9th grader?
I mean, I noticed a lot. I mean, like Tyler said, I mean, we came in here, didn't have the ball, just worked on defense. And, I mean, last year, my free throws wasn't as good, 46%. So, I mean, me and my dad would come here at like 5:30 in the morning and just shoot up 200 free throws, and my percent go up. And I will call in some of the team and ask if they want to come in the gym with us just to work on, team bonding and getting better as a team.
And still a young team. You're a freshman, but you have this guy who's also a quarterback. and Jameel Jackson. You have some returning veterans. How has their leadership helped you develop as a player?
Helped me a lot, because there'd be some times in the game I'd be frustrated, and Ty and Mill just come over here, give me some pep talk. I would keep my head up and just get the next one. I mean, it gives me a lot of support.
So you got to get going. So last question here. Anyone you want to say hi to that will be watching this on Prep 45?
I just want to say shout out to the North Side. Keep showing the support.
What about you, Odell?
Same.
All right. You head back to your coaches. Thanks for talking with us, and congratulations on staying undefeated. That wraps up our coverage from here. Minneapolis North going to 7-0. We'll see if they can continue this undefeated stretch when we return next Saturday against Holy Family Catholic. For everyone here, I'm Mike Beaton. Thank you for watching.